Greetings, everyone. So tonight I'm going to read this excerpt in Wikipedia on the murder of Ellie Perkins, and I will make sure to leave the link in the description box. It's going to be a little of a long read. She was a Scientologist, and she was killed by her son, whom was schizophrenic, and had he had his antipsychotic medication, I wouldn't be reading this right now. Murder of Ellie Perkins. Ellie Perkins, née present 1949 to March 13th, 2003, was an American glass artist and a Scientologist who lived in Western New York State, working as a senior auditor at the Church of Scientology branch in Buffalo. Guess she's Bridge to Total Freedom's not going to work for her. When her son Jeremy began to show signs of schizophrenia, Perkins attempted to treat him in accordance with Scientology instead of seeking proper psychiatric care. Jeremy's condition progressed to the point where he felt his mother was poisoning him with the vitamin supplements she forced him to take. After a suicide attempt, Jeremy murdered his mother. Wonder how old he was. Something gives me a strange feeling he was a minor. The killing received substantial press coverage, with the implication being that Perkins' refusal to allow Jeremy to be treated by a psychiatrist caused his eventual outburst and her death. Early life. Ellie Perkins, born Ellie Present, was raised Jewish. She married Don Perkins, who was brought up with a Christian background. Ellie met Don shortly after taking a Scientology course, before moving to Buffalo. Ellie had lived in Rochester and attended the Rochester Institute of Technology. She crafted handmade glass art and traveled to the Sterling Renaissance Festival, an annual Renaissance fair in upstate New York, of which she was a member, to sell her wares. She also helped to run the Niagara Craft Association. In 1979, Don and Ellie Perkins, both Scientologists, reached the state of Clare after taking Scientology courses and receiving auditing processes. The family then moved to California and lived there during the 1980s, where Ellie worked at the Church of Scientology Celebrity Center in Los Angeles. By the late 1980s, the family had moved back to Buffalo. Ellie and Don had a daughter and a son named Jeremy, the latter of whom lived at home and worked for the Don's contracting company. In addition to contracting work, Don is a cabinet maker and carpenter. Declining mental health of her son. At age 24, Jeremy began to show changes in behavior, telling his father that he was hearing voices in his mind. At that time, Jeremy's parents sent him to join Scientology's Sea Org in California. Well, that's great. That'll help. Which they hoped would help resolve his troubling behavior. His treatment did not succeed with the Sea Org so he returned to his parents within a few months, resuming his job at his father's business. So they basically denied him medical care. A family friend said Ellie strongly believed that psychiatry was an evil, so she would not consult a psychiatrist about her son's mental illness. Scientologists believe that psychiatry doesn't work. That's the propaganda. Court-ordered psychiatric evaluations of Jetemy showed that he was displaying symptoms of schizophrenia in 2001. They glossed over that. Court-ordered. Oh, maybe after he killed his mother. Jeez. His defense attorney, John Nucareno, said that his condition declined over the summer of 2002 and that his father had to terminate his employment. This would be the time to take him to the ER or to a psychiatric hospital. His deterioration exhausted the church's efforts to cure him. They classified Jetemy as a level 3 potential trouble source and banned him from further Scientology courses. Great religion, isn't it? Wonderful. Search for alternatives to psychiatry. After being found trespassing outside of the university at Buffalo on August 14th, 2001, he's psychotic right now, I believe. Jetemy was arrested and remanded to a local hospital after a court-ordered psychiatric exam confirmed that he had a diagnosis of schizophrenia. Perkins later convinced the court to release her son into her custody. People need to stop going along with this stuff. She began to seek out alternative methods of treatment to psychiatry and refused to allow her son to be treated with antipsychotic medications. In the fall of 2002, the Perkins family consulted with Dr. Conrad Mulfair, an osteopathic physician and Scientologist. According to Nucareno, Mulfair concluded that he was suffering from certain digestive problems. Well, that sounds right, doesn't it? That he had a certain chemical toxins in his body, and he needed to be purged of it. Mulfair said he needed to be energized through vitamin therapy. Vitamin therapy seems to be the answer for everything. Who knew? Who knew that all people needed to get rid of their psychosis was to just cleanse? Perkins gave Jetemy the recommended vitamins, but he became highly suspicious of his mother in a recorded interview after being asked what concerns he had about taking these vitamins. Jetemy stated, "Well, concerns just that maybe she's trying to poison me or something." In February 2003, Perkins took Jetemy to see Albert Brown, a self-taught natural healer. Jetemy told Brown in a session, "Sometimes I think I'm Jesus Christ." Perkins wanted to send Jetemy to live with Brown for treatment, but days beforehand, Jetemy began to act more aggressive because his psychosis is getting worse, which means delusions, which means hearing voices, could be visual hallucinations, audio hallucinations. After consulting with her son-in-law, Jeff Carlson, the executive director of the Buffalo Church of Scientology, she was told to give Jetemy mess work. I think mess work is more like manual labor or busy work around the house in order to get him tired. Wow, the ineptitude here. Killing. Jeremy was 28 years old when his parents agreed that he should stay with Brown, whose treatment regimen was acceptable to Scientology doctrines. They're not really a church. Like, they just need to let go of all this church talk. The doctrines and all that. There are no doctrines. Jeremy had agreed that Brown might be able to help him and was to leave in the afternoon of March 13th, 2003. That morning, Don had to return from work briefly in order to settle an argument between Jeremy and his mother. Later, Ellie told Jeremy to take a shower, which he did. When he finished his shower, Jeremy found his mother in the kitchen talking on the phone. He retrieved a steak knife and attacked Ellie as she spoke to her friend. According to a statement given to the police, Jeremy stated, "You see how they blank it out there? Always trying to take away any culpability, any responsibility, any tie directly to Scientology when they word it according to a statement. How vague is that?" According to a statement given to the police, Jeremy stated, "I tried to slit my wrist after the shower, but I wouldn't die, so I decided to do my mom instead. She was screaming, 'No, Jeremy, don't.' I stabbed her about 4 to 5 times before she fell down. I then stabbed her about 10 more times in the stomach after she fell to the ground. I knew she was a goner. I believe that I have lived different lives for the past 1,000 years and wished I was in another life now." That's also part of the Scientology that they're talking about there. Not to be insensitive to what I just read. Hold on, I gotta get some tea. Jeremy said he attempted to cut out her right eye because he thought it was evil, but the attempt was unsuccessful. He also made statements like, "She gets mad at me when I play my drums in my room, and she makes me take these vitamins every day. When she made me take the shower this morning, this was the last straw." Jeremy's police statement led to a court-ordered psychiatric examination. Autopsy reports showed that Perkins was stabbed 77 times. Do you guys ever wonder how they know how many times a person was stabbed? I mean, it's really grotesque, it's awful, but I've got theories on that one. But I'm not going to go there today. In June 2003, Jeremy pleaded not guilty to charges of criminal weapons and second-degree murder in a court in Erie County. The district attorney in the case stated that death by stabbing is not unusual in homicides, but 77 stab wounds is really rare. The court ordered another psychiatric examination for Jeremy. I also, even though he was psychotic, I believe that shows like pure hatred towards his mother. I don't know the whole story, but I guess she was bossing him around. He's, 28 years old? I don't know the whole story. But for him to go that far, I think they call that a crime of passion. Aftermath. Jeremy was found not responsible by reason of mental disease or defect on July 29, 2003, and was placed on probation. 6 months later, on January 29, 2004, a commitment order was issued which assessed him as dangerously mentally ill, authorizing him to be committed in a secure facility of your choosing by the New York State Office of Mental Health. I think that also has to do with Scientology because of all the abuse that goes on. I don't know the whole story, but just my opinion. According to Rich Dunning, a former deputy director of the Buffalo Church of Scientology, there was a panic among the church's international leadership. Oh, isn't that where Rinder used to work? I think, and then Headley, Mark Headley, all the Headleys. Anyways, among the church's international leadership, everything's always in code. After the killing, and that there was an effort to distance the church as far away as they could, from Jetemy Perkins. That's what they always do. He also stated that the killing was a public relations fiasco, black PR is what they would call it, as it exposed the dangers of Scientology's ban against consulting psychiatrists and the belief that members who attain high operating thetan levels achieve special powers. Jetemy was later placed on psychiatric medications, which court psychiatrists state have stabilized his condition. Nukareno said, Jetemy himself told me that he firmly believes that if he had been taking these medications earlier, that it would not have happened. After Nukareno was interviewed on the CBS program 48 Hours, Jetemy was visited by a senior Church of Scientology staff member. They always code everything. Why don't we get their name? Nukareno was replaced by an attorney whose law firm had worked previously for Scientology. They're just trying to handle it. They didn't help him before. They didn't help the mom either. In March 2006, an advertisement in LA Weekly blamed Tom Cruise and the Church of Scientology for the killing. The ad stated, "Thanks, Tom Cruise and the Church of Scientology, for your expert advice on mental health." The ad recounted the story of Perkins' death, saying she was killed by the schizophrenic son she was told to treat with vitamins instead of psychiatric care. The advertisement also cited the website perkinstragedy.org. Honestly, she has to take some responsibility there too, but it's a tragedy. On October 28, 2006, 48 Hours aired a segment on Perkins' death. CBS later reported on the background behind the production of the program and wrote that they had received complaints. You know, it's not complaints. They probably got threats. They had received complaints from Scientologists. The Scientology community was not happy with the story, which raised the possibility that Perkins might not have been murdered had her son been given psychiatric treatment. Well, obviously. Okay, wait. According to CBS, the church did not provide the 48 Hours production staff with an official spokesman and attempted to influence the broadcast itself. That's what they always do. Scientologists said that CBS had a conflict of interest because pharmaceutical companies advertise on the network's television programming. I heard this used before. They like to use that one. I really think they believe that too. However, CBS News Senior Vice President Standards and Special Projects, Linda Mason stated, "Nothing could be further from the truth. At CBS's sales department and the news department, there is a Chinese wall between them, and we just don't cross. And we've done numerous stories on the ill effects of drugs and various sponsors that are on CBS. When questioned about the litigious nature of the Church of Scientology, Mason said that this history of litigation did not influence the show's production, saying, "We do stories that we feel stand on their own grounds in the court of law." So anyways, very tragic story. That's very unfortunate. I'm going to do some digging and see if I can find that 48 hours clip. So that's another story, guys. We got to keep getting this information out. Have a good night or day wherever you are. Peace.